Hi, my name is Zephyr Wildman, and I'm going to give you insight into what we're practicing with this week. Step 1, self-awareness. Last week, we looked at understanding our thinking, feeling, and reactive mind as the brain is just a tool for consciousness to experience being embodied. But there's a strong negative bias in our brain's function to keep us safe. And long-term exposure to fear, uncertainty, and scarcity creates a massive imbalance and a craving to get more things that give us dopamine, to have more, fun experiences. However, when we start to experience this ooh, that gives me good dopamine, it becomes more impulsive in that craving and grasping those things that lead towards addiction, whether severe or minor. But we start to see that it pulls our experience of our embodiment out of balance. And yoga is all about creating balance, harmony, oneness, wholeness, completeness of body, mind, and breath, spirit. And so addressing this imbalance, yoga suggests 7 stages. The first stage of working with yoga is self-awareness. Second is self-understanding. Third, self-acceptance. Fourth is self-discipline. Fifth, self-actualization. Sixth is self-transcendence of old patterns. And then seventh, self-transformation. So working with the stages of yoga, the first step is self-awareness. We actually have to face our negative thinking, our negative feeling, and the sensations that don't feel very pleasant. And this creates a lot of heat. It's like, oh, I've been trying to avoid this, or I've been pushing it away, or I've been trying to go around it, over it, under it, trying to just avoid actually what is causing me this pain and addictively chase something which has a short shelf life of pleasure, but eventually just is like, oh, that's not long enough, so I need to get more and more and more and more and more. So all of a sudden, we have to face whatever is causing us pain. And the Bhagavad Gita in Book 2, The Yoga of Knowledge, addresses some of this. So it states that to grow attached, you will become addicted. Thwart or prevent your addiction, it turns into anger. Be angry, it confuses your mind. You forget the lessons of experience. Forget your experience. You lose your discernment. Lose your discernment, you miss life's only purpose. A few weeks ago, we worked with Viveka Shakti, wise discernment, wise judgment. In this way that we can see the truth and untruth, real and unreal, virtuous and unvirtuous, that this is the eyes of your intuitive knowing, your buddhi, in that way in which you make better choices, aligned to your soul's calling, aligned to your deepest heart's desires, in that way in which we connect to our life's purpose, to experience liberation and freedom, to ultimately remember not just who we are, but what we are. So the self-awareness step 1 creates a lot of heat, not just physical heat, but energetic heat, mental heat of concentration. And in this heat, we offer what we find to the fire, to burn, to create this purification, to polish, so we become these strong, vital vessels, stable enough in ourselves, calmly connected to that Viveka Shakti, to that discernment of experienced wisdom, to make better choices in that skillfully navigating your life with loving awareness. So self-awareness is an honest reflection of ourselves, to be honest with ourselves, start taking responsibility and accountability for our thoughts, feelings, and actions, in that way in which it prepares you to be humble, to regain your serenity. Eckhart Tolle actually was stated in saying that addiction starts with pain and ends with pain. How do we hold our pain? In the Yoga Sutras 131, it suggests there's 4 symptoms of pain. So this helps us. It's another little blueprint to help us steer our self-awareness and starting to awake to what is unconsciously driving our addictive impulse to reach towards more pleasurable things. So we create a delayed gratification of reaching and grasping and sit with the heat of facing our discomfort. And that points towards our negative thinking, emotional distress, name your feelings, instability of the body. Like, I want to jump out of my skin and run away. I can't stop fidgeting in asana. Or like, I'm too weak. I can't handle it. The 4th being disturbances in your breath that mirror the disturbances in your mind. Starting to notice the little speed bumps or holding patterns of hyperventilating, mind going crazy, or hanging out on your exhale. I'm so depressed, mind depressed. So we start to see that prana pattern of breath and mind work together. So symptoms of suffering: negative thinking, emotional distress, instability of the body, and disturbances in the breath that mirror the disturbances in your mind. So what the sutras suggest is 129 is to turn your awareness inwards, to use it as a mirror. How clever is that? To stop pointing the finger at everybody and everything, saying it's your fault, I blame you. Well, if you could just be like this, I'll be okay. And as the saying goes, when you point your finger, there's 3 fingers pointing back at you. Take a hard look at you rather than judging and criticizing others. Notice how you're reacting. And in that way that we delay the gratification of reacting, we sit in discernment in the heat of practice and start to look at, God, what am I thinking? Is that true? What am I feeling? My feelings feel very real, but is it true? And then the sensations. Wow, I'm really feeling a lot in my tummy, my chest, my throat, my head. What is it saying? On the subtle level, we start to look at the chakra system or granthis, these holding patterns. And so we get more insight. Yogis love this. We're like, bring on the pain. We'll put our legs behind our head. But it's not just the kind of physical contortionist. It's actually embracing a deeper understanding and facing the reality and being aware of your thoughts, your feelings, the sensation, the imagery, the memories that we hold. So Russell Brand wrote a book called Recovery, and he states in it that this first step is an invitation to change. It's really important. It's an invitation to change. We need a lot of courage to face change. If we were happy, why would you change? Like, this is working for me. So when it doesn't work, and when your life starts to be swallowed in pain and suffering, in this addictive way that we start to notice the mess in the wake of our actions, starting to create a lot of fear, uncertainty, the pain, we start to kind of go, okay, it's time to look at me. What's my stuff? And have that loving awareness kind of go, okay, let's do this process. So step 1 in recovery states that we admitted that we were powerless and that our lives have become unmanageable. It's an interesting one. We admitted that we are powerless over people, places, and things, that our lives have become unmanageable. What is unmanageable in my life? Is it my relationships? Is it my work? Is it my finances? Is it my timekeeping? Is it my relationship with alcohol or food or sex or my social media, my phone addiction? What is actually feeling unmanageable? And what am I trying to be powerful over? Is it my own fear of dying? Is it my fear of getting ill? Is it my fear of missing out? My fear of maintaining status? Is it my fear of being found out as a fraud, embarrassed? What is at the core of this impulse to react, to try to mask this fear or mask this pain or avoid actually having this good self-look? What am I trying to be powerful over ultimately? And I think fundamentally, as we look, every human just wants to be safe. They want to be loved and have someone to love. We want to belong to a community, a family, to each other. And we want to feel connected to this greater energy, nature. We want to call it Ishvara, Godhead of our understanding. We want to feel connected, whole, complete, balanced, harmony. Oh, that's what the state of yoga is. So this first step is a really interesting one. And it's hard because to be powerless, people are like, I don't want to be a doormat. Why would I want to be a doormat? But as I've researched and looked inwards and contemplated this, being powerless over people, places, and things actually empowered me. So the definition of power, which I'll read, is power is the capacity or ability to direct or influence the behavior of others or the course of events. Empowerment is to make someone stronger, more confident, especially in controlling their lives, and to claim their rights. So power over, say, for instance, my child is to say, I'm going to direct what I believe and influence what I believe onto you. And you need to believe this, or else I'm going to be upset with you. Or you do this and then I'll be okay. Or you behave like this and I'll be okay. Carl Jung has stated it in saying the greatest burden a child has to bear is an unlived life of a parent. So instead of being like power, my way because I said so, how do we empower our kids? Empower my kids. I get them to question their lives. I get them to question their belief systems. I get them to critically think about things and support them, encourage them, strengthen them, give them the confidence to kind of go, okay, you fell down. It hurts, doesn't it? But I'm right here with you. But we got this. Let's go and do this. And steer them and see that their weaknesses become their greatest strengths if we so shape and draw them towards taking their own charge of their own lives and actually empowering them with more useful tools, information to make greater decisions so they grow up to be who they need to be, not who I want them to be. So you can say this about politics. It's like, I'm scared about the outcome of the election. I have no control. I'm powerless over the outcome of the election. But what I'm powerful over, I empower myself because I go and vote and I support certain people who I feel who are going to represent me and lead us in a more aligned way of what I value. Or say, for instance, I'm powerless over climate change. I don't have control of stopping what's going on. But what I empower myself is make better choices in the things that I buy, how I travel, how I socialize, and consume things that are more sustainable. So there's a difference of empowering and power. But I am powerless over everything outside my yoga mat. But what I'm powerful over is my own thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, and my actions. So that idea of really starting to look at what in my life is unmanageable and what am I trying to be powerful over, which is creating this dis-ease, this pain, this suffering, because I'm finding it really challenging. And this is where we need a lot of courage. So in practice this week, we're doing a lot of Virabhadrasanas. Vira means courage, so standing warrior poses, that you embody this brave warrior, this bodhisattva, in bravely facing life's greatest challenges, remaining open-hearted and moved and guided by our inner truth and being touched by our own humanity, that joy of being embodied, even though it feels so hard sometimes. So I always seek the guidance of the Serenity Prayer in times of need. When I'm in the thick of the heat of the practice, tapas, I seek the Serenity Prayer. I say it like a mantra and I do japa over and over and over again. And so the Serenity Prayer states that Ishvara, the Godhead of your understanding, You can use God, you can use source, divine, higher power, love, illuminated emptiness, whatever. Grant me the serenity to accept. I just totally forgot I'd say this the past 22 years. Okay, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, I'm powerless over my mistakes, but grant me the serenity of the things I can change. Go, God, how human am I? And I can do it again. Let's do it more in a loving way. So this higher power, which is within us, around us, working with us and for us, to wake us up to its presence in everything. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, but the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom is that discernment. And when I get quiet enough and create this space in which I really take responsibility and accountability for me, my thoughts, my feelings, my sensations, and make wiser actions, it's the difference between discernment and a confused mind, addictive, reactive mind, between responding and reacting. And acceptance is not a submission. It's an empowerment in which we make better choices to best serve our life, coming from a place of love, kindness, feeling whole, complete, safe, belonging, loved, connected. And so as we practice, bravely facing what is ours to bear, in the heat of the practice, we do step 1. We awaken to what is. And in that loving way, we embrace what is ours and see it as a teacher, as it's teaching us how to navigate with gaining more experienced wisdom and waking up to what provokes us. And in that way in which we see everything becomes a teacher. And looking back at what we've gone through, you look back in your life, only on reflection we understand why things have unfolded the way that they have. Your life is not wrong. It's perfectly imperfect. And you're right where you need to be. So there is a beautiful saying by a Danish philosopher, Søren Kierkegaard, and he states, life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forward. So I hope this has inspired you this week to take that first step in facing what is painful for you this week, today, this moment. What is unmanageable in your life? And starting to take a good hard look of what you're trying to control, and actually, in a courageous way, surrender to the heat of your practice, and starting to look at what you're powerless over, but what you can be empowered with, and how to skillfully navigate with that loving awareness behind you, and actually using this life as a gift. Thank you for listening. I hope to see you in practice, whether online, in studio, but thank you. I hope this has served you.